I'm 81 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might scare you. The safest way to live your life is also the fastest way to waste it. I know, because I wasted mine. I'm not talking about the kind of cowardice you're picturing. I didn't run from a fight. I didn't abandon my family. I showed up. I paid the bills. I did everything I was supposed to do. And that's exactly the problem. I spent 81 years coloring inside the lines. My name is Walt Hartley, and this is the story of how playing it safe cost me everything that actually mattered. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My father was a factory worker, good man, but steady as a rock. He had one rule above all others: don't take risks. Don't stick your neck out. Get a stable job. Keep your head down, save your money, and be grateful for what you have. And I listened. Boy, did I listen. I had a younger brother. His name was Eddie. Eddie was 3 years younger than me, and he was everything I wasn't. Where I was cautious, Eddie had wings. Where I planned, Eddie leaped. Our father used to say, "Walt's the smart one. Eddie's going to end up in a ditch somewhere." I believed that for most of my life. I thought I was the wise brother. I thought playing it safe was the intelligent move. I thought Eddie was the fool, but I was dead wrong. Let me walk you through what playing it safe actually looks like over a lifetime, so you understand what I mean. When I was 22, I got accepted into a program in Boston. Good school. It would have changed the whole direction of my life. My father told me it was too expensive, too risky. "What if it doesn't pan out?" he said. "Stay here. There's a firm in town that's hiring. It's a sure thing." So I stayed. I took the sure thing. Eddie? At 22, Eddie moved to San Francisco with $200 in his pocket. My father didn't speak to him for a year. At 27, I met a woman named Diane at a church picnic. She had this laugh that could fill up a whole room, and she had dreams big enough to match. We used to stay up late talking about opening a little place of our own someday. A shop, maybe a restaurant, something that was ours. She made me believe I could be more than the safe version of myself. For the first time in my life, I actually wanted to take the leap. Diane passed away when she was 41. An illness that moved faster than any of us could keep up with. She left me with 2 kids and a hole in my life the size of the sky. And here's where the cowardice crept back in. I told myself I had to play it safe now, for the kids. I had to be the steady one, the provider. I couldn't take risks anymore because it wasn't just about me. And on the surface, that sounds noble. Sounds like a good father doing what a good father does. But the truth? The truth is I used my children as an excuse to stop living. Diane would have hated that. She would have wanted me to build that dream for both of us. Instead, I folded it up, put it in a drawer, and never opened it again. Eddie? He married a woman he met on a Greyhound bus. My mother cried. My father said it would last 6 months. It lasted 37 years, until the day he died. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. The safe choice isn't always the smart choice. Sometimes the safe choice is just the scared choice wearing a nice suit. After Diane, I spent the next 30 years going through the motions. Worked my way up at the firm, raised the kids, kept the house in order, church on Sundays, retirement account. I checked every single box that was handed to me. And you know what it felt like? It felt like watching someone else fly the plane. I was just a passenger in my own life. I'd wake up, go through the motions, come home, watch the news, go to sleep. Same route every single day for decades. People would tell me I was doing a great job. "Walt, those kids are lucky to have you." And I'd nod and say thank you. But inside I knew the truth. I wasn't being brave for my kids. I was hiding behind them. Meanwhile, Eddie was out there living. He started a small business that went belly up, then another one that crashed and burned, then a third one that actually took off. He traveled to places I could only see in magazines. He called me one Christmas from Thailand, laughing, telling me about some market where he ate something he couldn't even pronounce. I remember hanging up that phone and sitting in my living room, looking at the same four walls I'd looked at for 20 years, and feeling something I couldn't name. It wasn't jealousy, not exactly. It was grief. I was grieving a life I never gave myself permission to live. A life Diane and I were supposed to build together. A life I buried the same day I buried her. But I kept telling myself the same story. Eddie's irresponsible. Eddie got lucky. I'm a steady one. I had kids to raise. I made the right calls. I needed that story like a man needs air, because without it, I'd have to face the truth. I was scared. I had always been scared of failing, of being judged, of the unknown, of being the son who let his father down. And after Diane, I was scared of one more thing. I was scared that if I chased that dream without her, it would mean she was really gone. And here's what I need you to understand. Fear runs your life more than you know. And the most dangerous kind isn't the kind that stops you cold when something bad happens. It's the quiet kind. The kind that whispers, "Not yet," and "Maybe next year," and "The kids need me." The kind that puts on a tie and calls itself responsibility, calls itself sacrifice, calls itself being a good parent. That fear stole decades from me. It stole my passion. It stole the life Diane wanted us to have. And the worst part, I didn't even see it happening. Because the world pats you on the back for being afraid. You get a promotion for keeping your head down. You get praised for being the reliable one. But nobody tells you that reliable can also mean hollow. Eddie got sick when he was 62, pancreatic cancer. Same thing that took our mother. When I went to see him in the hospital, I expected to find a man full of regret, a man who wished he'd played it safer. Instead, I found a man who was at peace. He was lying in that bed, thinner than I'd ever seen him, and he looked at me and said, "Walt, I had one hell of a ride." And then he said something that I carry with me to this day. He said, "The only thing I feel bad about is that you didn't come along." He didn't mean the trips. He meant all of it, the whole journey. He felt sorry for me, my reckless, irresponsible little brother. The one our father said would end up in a ditch felt sorry for me. Eddie died at 64. At his funeral, the room was standing room only. People flew in from 5 different countries. His wife told stories that had everyone laughing through their tears. His friends spoke about adventures, about generosity, about a man who made you feel like the sky was the limit. At my funeral, and I've thought about this more than I'd like to admit, what will people say? Walt was reliable. Walt was steady. Walt always showed up on time. That's my legacy, punctuality. After Eddie died, something shifted in me. Not in a big dramatic way, nothing you'd notice from the outside, but quietly, like a crack in a foundation that spreads a little more each year. I started seeing my life with clearer eyes, and I didn't much care for what I saw. I remember coming home from his funeral and sitting in my kitchen, the same kitchen Diane used to dance in while she cooked, and I said to myself, I'm fine, fine. That word again, always fine, never alive, never on fire. That night I couldn't sleep. I pulled out a box from the back of the closet, old photographs, letters, and I found two things that just about broke me in two. The first was a postcard from Eddie, postmarked 1991, from Rome. He'd written 4 words on the back, "Wish you were here." The second was a napkin, from the diner where Diane and I had our first date. She'd sketched a little drawing of what our restaurant would look like someday, a little place with big windows and her name on the door. I never went to Rome. I never built that restaurant. I had the money. I had the time. I just didn't have the nerve. I looked at my life and I saw a man who never once took a leap of faith, who never said yes when it made his palms sweat, who never chased a dream because it wasn't practical, who lost the love of his life and used that loss as a reason to stop living instead of a reason to live more. Now, I'm not telling you to throw caution to the wind. That's not what this is about. Eddie made his share of mistakes. He went broke twice. He got his heart broken. He slept on floors and lived on peanut butter and sometimes had no idea where the next dollar was coming from. But here's the difference, and I need you to hear this clearly. Eddie's mistakes came from living. Mine came from hiding. And I can tell you from this side of 81, the bruises you get from living a full life are nothing compared to the ache of realizing you never really stepped up to the plate. Let me put it to you straight. If you're living your life according to someone else's flight plan, you're not really flying. You're just along for the ride. And the passengers don't remember the scenery nearly as well as the pilot does. You lost someone, and you think you owe it to their memory to stay small? You don't. The people who loved us want us to live bigger, not smaller. That's what Diane would have told me. That's what I was too afraid to hear. So here's what I'd like you to do. Think about the thing you've been putting off, the thing that tightens your stomach. Maybe it's a new direction. Maybe it's walking away from something that isn't working. Maybe it's a dream you buried with someone you loved. Whatever it is, that knot you're feeling right now, it doesn't untie itself with age. It just gets quieter. Until one morning you realize the fear won. Not because it overpowered you, but because you handed it the wheel so long ago, you forgot you were ever supposed to be driving. I'm 81. I can't go to Boston. I can't build that little restaurant with Diane's name on the door. I can't tell Eddie, "Hold on, I'm coming with you." Those doors are closed. But yours aren't. Eddie didn't have more talent than me. He didn't have more money or better luck. He just never let fear have the last word. And Diane? She was ready to leap. She was just waiting for me to say the word. I never did. My brother filled 64 years to the brim. My wife dreamed bigger in 41 years than I have in 81. And me? I'm still here, still safe, still fine. Don't be like me. The life you're waiting for? That is the life. You're in it right now. If something I said today landed somewhere in your chest, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like to stick around, subscribe. I've got more to say. And truth be told, I'm not sure how much runway I've got left. The clock doesn't wait for anyone. Never has. So what are you going to do with your time?